Someone insults you or cuts you off in traffic. Instantly, your heart races, blood rushes to your face, and before you even realize it, you snap. Minutes later, you're left with regret. Or maybe during an exam, an interview, or a high-stakes argument, your mind suddenly goes completely blank. Here is a truth you need to hear. It's not a personal flaw. It's a glitch in how your brain processes stress. In today's 30-minute masterclass, we're skipping generic advice. Instead, we'll explore practical neuroscience and proven psychological tools so you can remain ice-cold under pressure. Think back to the last time you lost your temper or allowed anxiety to take complete control of your mind. Maybe someone spoke to you in a condescending tone at work. Maybe a family member pushed a boundary they knew they shouldn't have. Or perhaps you were stuck in traffic when you were already running late for a crucial meeting. In that exact split second, what happened? Your heart rate spiked. A wave of heat rushed up your chest to your face. Your muscles tensed, your breath became shallow, and before your rational mind could step in, you reacted. You shouted, sent a harsh text message, shut down completely, or made a decision that you had to clean up for days or weeks afterward. Here is the harsh reality. Most people spend their entire lives as puppets to their external environment. If someone compliments them, they have a good day. If someone disrespects them, their day is ruined. If everything goes according to plan, they are peaceful. If a single unexpected problem arises, they spiral into chaos. When you live like this, you do not own your life. The people who trigger you, the circumstances that stress you, and the unexpected events that disrupt you, they own you. Now, let's clear up a massive misconception right from the start. Staying calm does not mean becoming an emotionless robot. It does not mean suppressing your feelings, stuffing your anger down until you explode, or letting people walk all over you while you smile weakly. That isn't emotional control. That is emotional repression, and research shows it leads to chronic physical inflammation, heart disease, and severe anxiety. True emotional control is entirely different. It is the ability to feel a massive surge of anger, fear, or frustration inside your body, observe it with extreme clarity, and then choose, with total intention, how you will respond. It is the difference between a glass of water and the ocean. If you throw a small stone into a glass of water, the water splashes everywhere and overflows. If you throw a massive boulder into the ocean absorbs the impact, creates a minor ripple, and remains vast, deep, and steady. In this masterclass, I'm going to teach you how to turn your mind from a fragile glass of water into an unshakable ocean. The biology of emotion, why your brain panics and loses control. The emergency toolkit, 0 to 5 seconds, how to instantly halt a surge of anger or anxiety. Mindset shifts and reframing, why small things trigger you and how to neutralize them. The daily calm blueprint, 3 simple habits to build long-term emotional resilience. If you give this session your full attention, the next time life tests your limits, you won't react impulsively. You will respond with purpose. Now, let's clear up a massive misconception right from the start. Staying calm does not mean becoming an emotionless robot. It does not mean suppressing your feelings, stuffing your anger down until you explode, or letting people walk all over you while you smile weakly. That isn't emotional control. That is emotional repression, and research shows it leads to chronic physical inflammation, heart disease, and severe anxiety. True emotional control is entirely different. It is the ability to feel a massive surge of anger, fear, or frustration inside your body, observe it with extreme clarity, and then choose, with total intention, how you will respond. It is the difference between a glass of water and the ocean. If you throw a small stone into a glass of water, the water splashes everywhere and overflows. If you throw a massive boulder into the ocean absorbs the impact, creates a minor ripple, and remains vast, deep, and steady. To fix a problem, you must first understand how the hardware works. Inside your skull sits an ancient organ designed for survival, not for modern social living. At the core of your emotional processing system are 2 key structures, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Think of the amygdala as your brain's smoke detector. It is an almond-shaped structure deep in the limbic system whose sole purpose is to keep you alive. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, when our ancestors walked through the wilderness, if a bush rustled, the amygdala didn't sit around analyzing whether it was the wind or a saber-toothed tiger. It immediately flooded the body with adrenaline and cortisol, elevated heart rate, diverted blood to the legs, and prepared the body to fight or flee. On the other hand, sitting right behind your forehead is the prefrontal cortex. This is the rational, executive center of the brain. It handles logic, math, strategic planning, empathy, and self-restraint. It is what makes us uniquely human. Here is where the biological glitch occurs. Your amygdala cannot distinguish between a physical threat to your life and a psychological threat to your ego. When someone leaves a rude comment on your post, criticizes your work, or cuts you off in traffic, your amygdala interprets that social conflict as a life or death threat. It triggers what psychologist Daniel Goleman coined as the amygdala hijack. During an amygdala hijack, your brain literally shuts off blood flow and electrical activity to your prefrontal cortex. Your logical brain goes offline. You are left operating purely on primal survival instincts. This is why, when you are consumed by rage, you say things that are completely irrational, perform actions you immediately regret, and feel like someone else was driving your body. Someone else was driving your body, your ancient survival system. Now, here is the most important scientific discovery you need to understand regarding your feelings. Dr. Jill Bolte-Taylor, a neuroanatomist at Harvard University, discovered what is now known as the 90-second rule. When a trigger occurs, say someone screams at you, your amygdala fires off a chemical cascade. Cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline flood your bloodstream. Your heart rate increases, your pupils dilate, and your blood pressure surges. Dr. Taylor proved that from the exact moment that chemical surge hits your bloodstream, it takes precisely 90 seconds for your body to metabolize and flush those chemicals completely out of your system. Read that again. The physical lifespan of anger or panic in your body is only 1 minute and 30 seconds. So why do you stay angry for 3 hours after an argument? Why do you lie awake at night at 2 a.m., still seething over something that happened 5 years ago? Because you're feeding the loop. After the initial 90-second chemical wave passes, your conscious mind starts creating stories. How dare he say that to me? Who does she think she is? If I don't respond right now, I'll look weak. They always do this to me. Every single time you replay that thought, your brain interprets it as a brand new threat, firing off another 90-second flush of stress chemicals. You are re-poisoning yourself every minute with your thoughts. The golden lesson: you cannot stop the initial 90-second chemical surge. That is automatic biology. But you can stop feeding the story that keeps the chemical loop alive. When you're in the middle of a conflict or panic attack, telling yourself just calm down or be rational does not work. You cannot talk a high-arousal nervous system into relaxation using the very brain part that is currently offline. You must use the body to hack the brain. The single fastest neurobiological tool to lower heart rate and deactivate stress in real time is called the physiological sigh, brought into modern science by Dr. Andrew Huberman at Stanford University. When you're stressed, tiny air sacs in your lungs called alveoli collapse, and carbon dioxide builds up in your bloodstream. This elevated CO_2 triggers an autonomic distress signal in the brain. The physiological sigh reverses this instantly. Here is how you perform it. Take a deep double inhale through your nose. First, one long, deep inhale, and then immediately, without exhaling, take a second sharp top-off inhale to fully expand your lungs. Hold for a fraction of a second. Exhale slowly and completely through your mouth until your lungs are completely empty. If you perform this double inhale followed by a long exhale just 2 or 3 times, your parasympathetic nervous system engages immediately. Your heart rate drops within seconds, your lungs offload accumulated CO_2, and the amygdala relinquishes its grip on your prefrontal cortex. Use this when you receive a stressful email, right before you step on stage, or during a heated argument when you feel your blood rising. The second emergency tool addresses what happens to your mind during emotional hijacking. You leave reality and get trapped in your head. Your thoughts start racing into catastrophic scenarios about the future or vengeful arguments about the past. To break a mental loop, you must force your brain to process immediate physical reality. We do this through the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method. When you feel an intense emotional wave, pause and silently name 5 things you can visually see around you right now, e.g., the texture of the desk, a reflection of light, a pen, your fingernails, a shadow. For things you can physically feel, e.g., the pressure of your feet on the floor, the fabric of your shirt against your arms, the temperature of the air. 3 distinct sounds you can hear in the background, e.g., the hum of an air conditioner, distant traffic, your own breathing. 2 things you can smell, e.g., coffee, paper, clean air. 1 thing you can taste, e.g., the lingering taste of water or mint. Why does this simple exercise work? Because sensory processing requires bandwidth in the cerebral cortex. By deliberately directing your attention to 5 distinct senses, you forcibly draw blood and electrical activity away from the emotional limbic system and back into the cognitive centers of your brain. The third tool is a behavioral boundary, the 10-second tactical pause. The psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl wrote one of the most profound sentences in human history. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. When an untrained person is stimulated, insulted, challenged, criticized, the distance between stimulus and response is 0. Stimulus happens, immediate emotional burst. Your goal is to deliberately widen that space. When someone says something provoking to you, institute an absolute rule. Never speak during the first 3 seconds of conflict. Count silently. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. During those 3 seconds, take a physiological sigh. If you must respond, use a verbal delay tactic that buys you time while keeping you in total control. Use phrases like, "That's an interesting perspective. Let me think about that for a moment before I answer. I want to give this conversation the attention it deserves. So let's pause for 5 minutes. I hear what you're saying, but I need a moment to process it." Notice how powerful those statements sound. Weakness blurts out immediate defenses. Real strength slows the room down and controls the tempo. Now let's move from emergency physical tactics to deep psychological reengineering. If you change the way you interpret the world, triggers lose their power to affect you in the first place. Over 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Epictetus laid down the foundation of mental strength with a single principle called the dichotomy of control. He wrote, "Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and, in one word, whatever are not our own actions." Draw a line down the middle of the piece of paper. On the left side is column A, what you control. On the right side is column B, what you do not control. Column A, in your control your thoughts, your effort, your diet, your sleep, your words, and your reactions. Column B, out of your control other people's manners, traffic, the weather, the economy, what people think of you, and whether people follow the rules. 99% of human suffering, anger, and anxiety comes from taking items from column B and trying to force them into column A. When you get angry at someone for being rude, you are throwing a temper tantrum because reality isn't conforming to your rules. You cannot control their manners. The moment you accept that you have 0 authority over external outcomes and absolute authority over internal responses, you become invulnerable. To make this principle stick in your mind forever, remember this ancient Taoist story told by the philosopher Chuang Tzu. Imagine a man is rowing a small wooden boat across a smooth lake on a foggy morning. He is enjoying the peace and quiet. Suddenly, out of the dense fog, another boat crashes violently into his craft, nearly capsizing him and cracking his oars. The man immediately flies into a rage. He drops his oars, stands up, and starts cursing at the person driving the other boat. "Look what you did. Are you blind? You ruined my boat. What is wrong with you?" He is ready to physically fight the person. But as the fog clears slightly, he looks closely into the other boat and realizes it is completely empty. It was just an unmanned boat that had drifted loose from its moorings and was carried by the current. In an instant, the man's rage vanishes entirely. Why did his anger disappear? The situation didn't change. His boat was still damaged. But his perception changed. He realized there was no personal intent behind the collision. There was no enemy trying to hurt him. It was just a boat drifting with the tide. Here is the life-changing truth. Almost everyone who provokes you is an empty boat. When a coworker is passive-aggressive, when a stranger yells at you, or when a family member acts irrationally, they're not acting out of calm, strategic power. They are empty boats drifting on the currents of their own stress, past trauma, sleep deprivation, and internal insecurity. Their behavior is a projection of their own internal chaos. It has almost nothing to do with you. When you realize that hurt people, you stop feeling offended and start feeling detached clarity. The third cognitive shift is a psychological concept pioneered by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett called emotional granularity. When most people feel bad, they use massive, blunt words. "I'm furious," "I'm super stressed," or "my life is awful." When you use vast, dramatic language, your brain responds by treating the situation as a massive, catastrophic emergency. Psychological brain imaging studies demonstrate that when you precisely label a vague emotion with granular accuracy, the electrical firing in the amygdala immediately decreases. Psychologists call this "name it to tame it." The next time you feel an intense emotional wave, do not default to generic words. Force yourself to identify the exact sub-emotion. Is it actually anger? Or am I feeling disrespected? Is it anxiety? Or am I feeling unprepared? Is it frustration? Or am I just physically exhausted? Is it jealousy? Or am I feeling insecure about my own progress? When you pinpoint the exact emotional frequency, the confusion vanishes, and your brain shifts from a chaotic emotional state into an analytical problem-solving state. You cannot expect to remain calm in a high-stress crisis if your daily lifestyle keeps your baseline stress levels sitting at 90%. Emotional control is built during peaceful moments, so it can be relied upon during chaos. Here are the 3 non-negotiable daily habits you must integrate. 1. Sleep architecture and cortisol control. Brain imaging studies from UC Berkeley show that a single night of poor sleep causes the amygdala to become 60% more emotionally reactive. When you're sleep deprived, your brain loses its top-down connection from the prefrontal cortex. If you're chronically sleeping 5 or 6 hours, no amount of meditation or philosophy will stop you from being irritable and quick to snap. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep as a foundation. 2. Morning brain dump journaling. Every morning, spend 5 minutes doing an unstructured brain dump on paper. Write down every minor worry, task, or frustration currently sitting in your mind. By externalizing your thoughts onto paper, you prevent them from silently building up cognitive pressure throughout the day. 3. The no-input first hour digital fasting. If the first thing you do within 30 seconds of waking up is pick up your smartphone, you're priming your brain for reactivity. You flood your system with cheap dopamine, bad news, and notifications, placing your nervous system in a defensive state before your feet even touch the floor. Keep the first 30 to 60 minutes of your day free from digital inputs. The final piece of daily architecture is a concept known as stress inoculation. If you live a life of complete comfort, where the temperature is always perfect, food is instantly delivered, and you never face physical discomfort, your threshold for stress becomes razor thin. Minor inconveniences will feel like major disasters. You must deliberately expose yourself to controlled, voluntary stress to expand your capacity for real-world stress. This can be done through cold showers. Exposing your body to cold water forces an immediate fight-or-flight response. Practicing remaining calm, slowing your breath, and relaxing your shoulders under cold water directly trains your nervous system to stay calm during an unexpected shock. Hard physical training. Pushing through intense exercise teaches your mind to remain steady when your body is screaming in discomfort. Fast inconvenience exercises, deliberately skipping a luxury, walking instead of driving, or sitting with discomfort without immediately reaching for your phone. When you voluntarily conquer physical stress every single day, the minor emotional disruptions of daily life lose their power to shake you. As we bring this masterclass to a close, let us review your master framework for absolute emotional control. Remember the 90-second rule. The biological chemical wave of emotion lasts only 90 seconds. Do not feed the mental story that keeps the chemical loop alive. Deploy the physiological sigh. When panic or rage strikes, double inhale through your nose and take a long, slow exhale through your mouth to force your heart rate down. Use the 10-second pause. Never respond immediately. Create space between stimulus and response. Focus only on what you control. Apply the Stoic dichotomy of control. Let go of external outcomes and master your internal state. Remember the empty boat. Recognize that other people's rudeness and anger are reflections of their own internal chaos, not a reflection of your worth. Mastering your emotions is not an event. It is a lifelong practice. You will make mistakes. You will occasionally lose your temper or feel overwhelmed. But every single time you notice yourself reacting, pause, take a deep breath, and reset. You are not the weather. You are the sky. The storms, rain, and chaotic winds will come and go, but the sky remains vast, deep, and untouched. Take control of your mind, master your responses, and live with absolute peace. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Make sure to implement at least one technique from this session immediately. Stay calm, stay steady, and I will see you in the next session. Mastering your emotions is not an event. It is a lifelong practice. You will make mistakes. You will occasionally lose your temper or feel overwhelmed. But every single time you notice yourself reacting, pause, take a deep breath, and reset. You are not the weather. You are the sky. The storms, rain, and chaotic winds will come and go, but the sky remains vast, deep, and untouched. Take control of your mind, master your responses, and live with absolute peace. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Make sure to implement at least one technique from this session immediately. Stay calm, stay steady, and I will see you in the next session.